They didn't share their IP addresses or their personal information, but there was absolutely no reason they couldn't have. They absolutely could have. And I got to thinking to myself, what if at that point the Centers for Disease Control had said, well, we've got to do a mandatory vaccination program of anybody who has the flu or a mandatory quarantine? Then you could literally have typed in those 3 search terms into Google and gotten a knock at your door the next day, and as you open your door, there's 3 policemen and a guy in a white lab coat with a syringe in his hand saying, "Step out of the house, ma'am." This is the potential that we've given them. It's mind-blowing to think of how much we reveal about ourselves into these search engines every single day. And then when you look at the political interest in that information, it gets even creepier. The Chinese government, this big hack of Google that happened in January that had everybody so freaking out, including Google itself, what was the hack? Well, it was the Chinese government wanting to know more about dissidents. They know that the repository of information is Google. They are the number 1 repository of information on planet Earth right now. And so, if you want to figure out something about person X, or if you want to identify every person in your country with an interest in topic Y, the obvious place to go is Google. The obvious hack to commit is to hack into Google systems. And in the United States, they wouldn't even need to do the hack. They would just simply have to turn over a Patriot Act request and say, tell us everybody in the country who owns a handgun, or tell us everybody in the country who, looks up secession as opposed to Lady Gaga. It's a pretty clear line into what's going on in people's heads based on their Google searches or their Yahoo searches or their Bing searches. So for that reason, I finally said, 10 years as a privacy advocate, I've been using Google. I have been pretending like these problems didn't exist because I thought that if I ever really opened my eyes to them and became aware and actually accepted the fact that this company is invading my privacy, that I'd have to quit my job. I couldn't do my research. Finally, in desperation, I said, that's it. I give up. I'm not using Google anymore, and I will find an alternative. So I combed the Internet, and I finally found a company that meets every one of my criterion for being privacy-friendly and ethically above board. I love this company. It's called Startpage. They are an offshoot of a European company called Ixquick, which is IXQUICK. They have been in business for 10 years. They have been subjected to a 6-month audit by the European Certifying Authority organization called Europris. And in Europe, they take privacy very, very seriously. In fact, there are laws that very tightly govern what claims you're allowed to make about your data handling. And if you violate those laws, you're subject to incredible penalties over there. This company has been audited by them. They've gotten the highest possible ranking for total privacy, and they do not make a record of any of your searches. So even if there were a Patriot Act request, well, first of all, they're in Europe, so a Patriot Act request wouldn't hold. But even if they could, there would be no information for them to turn over because they literally do not know who uses their service. They don't know what people search for. They don't have your IP address. They don't record any of that, and that's startpage.com. So I'm an enormous fan. If you go to startpage.com, 2 things. Right on the home page, Startpage just introduced a new proxy service, which is a whole nother level of privacy, which means not only can you search privately, but you can actually go to the websites that you find from your search privately and anonymously without even the websites themselves knowing that you've gone to them. And that is when you do a search at Startpage, you look up whatever your topic is. When you get the results back, click on the word proxy at the bottom left of each result, and Startpage will go out to that website, grab the information for you, load it on its servers, and then serve them back to you, thus creating a buffer between you and that third-party website. So the website can't see you, they can't put cookies on your browser, they can't track you, they can't identify your location, nothing. You're invisible to them. All they see is Startpage. So it's a cool service. The other thing, and if people want to see me in a video, right there under proxy on the right-hand side of startpage.com, there's a link. And if you click that link, it says, click here for more information. That's actually me describing the proxy, showing you how it works. And the other thing you can do is you can add Startpage to your browser. There's a link right there on the home page that says add Startpage to your browser. When you click it, it goes up in that upper right-hand corner, that little window where you can type your search term in. You just pull down the menu and click Startpage, and it'll do the search automatically from your Firefox or your Internet Explorer, your Chrome, or whatever you're using.
That's great.
It's a good service.
How are they doing, and how do they stay in business?
Well, this is the interesting part. They're actually funded by advertising like everything else on the Internet that's free. Every search result that you do will return between 0 and 3 sponsored results. They're up at the top. They're clearly labeled. And the interesting part of this is they're actually Google ads. But this is a great opportunity to explain something else about Google that's bad and that's good about Startpage. Startpage is the only company on the Internet that runs Google ads, believe it or not, but does not reveal your information to Google. So there's literally nothing. Google doesn't know who's seeing their ads. They don't know. They can't serve them up personally because they don't know your information. But what I learned as I was trying to figure all of this out, all of the websites out on the Internet, except for Startpage, that run Google ads actually send your information back to Google. And let me explain that to you.
Please.
Let's say you're cruising along and you land on I don't know, we're both girls, so let's say you land on a shoe website, selling shoes or jewelry. And on that website, there's an ad for something else. That ad, if it says sponsored by Google, creepily enough, that website is under contractual obligation to tell Google that you were on their website, even if you didn't click the ad. Even if you didn't do anything, every single website on the Internet that has an ad by Google, other than Startpage, will tell Google that you were on their page. Which
That's
means not
terrible.
only does Google know everything you search for on their search engine, but you can't get away from them because if you land on any other page on the Internet with a Google ad, Google now knows your interests. So any website, literally every single website on the Internet, except for Startpage, that has a Google ad is essentially serving as kind of a spy. It's like a KGB spy. And they're saying, oh, we saw her here. We saw her here at 3 p.m. She clicked on these 4 links. Yep, and she bought a bracelet. We know that, and they will report that back to Google.
Very creepy.
Shocking stuff. And by the way, the Google ad part, when I first found that out, because they're actually under contract with Google, and that contract is of a certain duration, et cetera, but I actually was so concerned about that I signed a non-disclosure agreement, and I actually read over their lengthy contract with Google, and it's absolutely true that they do not reveal any information to Google about the people on their websites. There's nothing sent back to Google, which I thought was awesome.
What if Google cuts off Startpage?
That would be obviously a question where Startpage would need to find alternative advertising. But given that they've got, that contract of a set duration, I'm not sure what's going to happen on that front. But Startpage is looking into offering other services.
Yes.
We're looking into possibly offering email and, possibly some paid services down the road. But, the reality is that Google really is the 800-pound gorilla of the Internet. They control the advertising market. I just read a statistic recently that Google has something like 20 times more in advertising income than, I'm trying to think whose it was, some entire print advertising empire. They're really, right now, if you want to advertise a service, most people go straight to Google because Google is doing all of this very potent individual marketing.
Mm-hmm.
They're identifying what you like, what you're interested in, and so they can serve the exact, ads to you that would be relevant. Let me give you another example. Most people using Gmail, I would not have a Gmail account. I never have. And I'm a signer on a letter opposing Gmail from a couple of years ago by a whole coalition of privacy organizations. And the reason for that is Google reads all your email.
I know.
If you have an incoming or an outgoing Gmail account or a message, Google scans it and they look for keywords. So if you say, I'm looking forward to playing tennis this weekend before leaving for my Miami vacation, you can find yourself the next day on some totally unrelated website. You could be on, the dog adoption website, and you say, how do they know I'm going to Miami? There's an ad there for a vacation package in Miami complete with tennis. And you say, how'd they know that? Well, they know that because they read your email. They took the keywords from your email and turned them into marketing keywords, put them in your cookies, and when you landed on the dog adoption website and they were running ads by Google, they look at your cookies and they say, oh, here's some interest that this person has, and then the system automatically serves you up advertisements that directly pertain to the contents of your email. So, from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant. I have an undergraduate degree in marketing, and I can certainly appreciate the interest that marketers have in that. But from a consumer privacy perspective and ultimately from a liberty perspective, it's extremely worrisome. And I think that's why as people become more and more aware of this, they really begin to